Hello and welcome back to Swift Goose. Today we're going to take a look at control flow in Swift, specifically using if, else, and else if statements, as well as using the ternary operator. So let's get started with the new Xcode playground. First, let's create a couple variables that we can use. Var Bitcoin price equals 55,000. Now let's declare a CheeseCoin variable. So var CheeseCoin price, and we'll declare that to be of type int, and then var CheeseCoin exists. We'll set this equal to true as a boolean. So at a basic level, an if statement checks to see if a condition or expression evaluates to true or false, and then executes code based on that. If CheeseCoin exists, curly braces, we'll set our CheeseCoin price equal 10,000. And if it does not exist, then we'll say else, curly braces, CheeseCoin price equals 0. Underneath, let's put a print statement, print CheeseCoin price. So again, at a basic level, when we run this code, if this evaluates to true, then we will execute the first block and everything between these curly braces. Otherwise, we'll execute everything between the else block, curly braces. So let's run this. And we see, yes, CheeseCoin does exist, so the price is set to 10,000. Since if is checking if this statement evaluates to true, we can put other things in here, such as function calls. So let's make a function. Func returns true, and this will just return a bool, and we'll say return true. Now to test this out, we can say if returns true, print it was true all along, else print sadly it was false. When we run this code, Xcode will evaluate this statement by running the function returns true, getting the result, which is a boolean, and then checking if that boolean result is true or false. So since returns true returns a true boolean, this should always execute the top level of the if block saying it was true all along. Press play. We can negate this value by putting a exclamation in front of returns true, and now when returns true is called, this will return true, but the exclamation mark in front of this statement will negate the true that was returned, turning into a false. So when we run this code, it should now execute the false block. We can also create more complicated statement checks using the and or operators. This allows us to check multiple expressions if they're true or not. So let's look at the and operator first. So we can say if, and we'll put our first expression in parentheses. So CheeseCoin price is less than 15,000, and another parenthesis, CheeseCoin price is less than Bitcoin price. We'll say print by CheeseCoin. Then we'll put an else block and say print by Bitcoin instead. So when we execute this code, Xcode is going to check if both CheeseCoin price is less than 15,000 and CheeseCoin price is less than Bitcoin price. If both of those are true, and only both of those are true, then the first line, print by CheeseCoin, will be executed. Otherwise, the else block will be executed. So let's run this, and by CheeseCoin. Let's look at the or operator next. So we'll say if CheeseCoin price is less than 9,000, or two vertical bars above the shift key, CheeseCoin price is greater than Bitcoin price, close parentheses, we do our curly braces, and we'll print again by CheeseCoin otherwise print by BTC. Now when we run this code, Xcode will check if either the first or the second statements are true. And OR is also a short circuit, meaning that if the first expression is true, Xcode will not even bother to check the second statement because the first one is already true, and we're checking if either of them are true. So in this case, since CheeseCoin price is currently 10,000 and CheeseCoin price is not greater than Bitcoin price, we should get the false value by BTC. But let's change CheeseCoin price to show how short-circuiting works. So we'll say CheeseCoin price equals 15. Press play again. And now we get buy CheeseCoin with the 2 exclamation marks here. Now let's look at nesting multiple if statements together. So we can say if Bitcoin price is less than or equal to 60,000, and then we can say print buy one nested BTC. Now we can put another if statement in here. If Bitcoin price is less than or equal to 55,000 rather, we'll say print by 2 nested BTC, and then we'll do one final check in here. If Bitcoin price is less than or equal to 50,000, print by 3 nested BTC. Now you'll notice we didn't actually include else statements with any of these, and you can run if statements without else statements. But in this case, if we run this code, we should see that since Bitcoin price is currently set to 50,000, the first statement should execute to be true, in which case print by 1 nested BTC will run. And then the second check will go through. Again, this should be true, so by 2 nested BTC. And then the final statement should be false because we set Bitcoin price to be 55,000. So let's run this. And we'll see we get by 1 nested and 2 nested BTC, but not the third one. Now let's look at running the else if command. Let's create a string variable called let BTC equals BTC, and we'll say if BTC equals, and we'll put in here CheeseCoin, and we'll say something is wrong. Scroll down a little bit. Else if BTC equals ghost coin, print something is still wrong. And let's do one more else if statement. Else if BTC equals BTC. Okay, we're good. Now if we run this code, we see, okay, we're good. So essentially what's happening here is Xcode is checking the first case. This is evaluating to false, so it checks the second else if statement. This is false as well. It checks the final one. This is false as well. When you use nested if statements like above here, or multiple else if statements, your code can become cluttered pretty quickly. So that's where the switch statement comes in handy, but we'll make a separate video on that later. Finally, let's take a look at the ternary operator to help simplify your code down to one line. So let's scroll back up and grab our example from the very beginning. Copy that. Paste it. Let's set our CheeseCoin price to a new value, equals 15, and just add a print statement, CheeseCoin price. Now because this is a relatively simple if statement, we can actually collapse this all to one line by typing in if CheeseCoin exists, and we'll do the open braces here, and we'll set CheeseCoin price equal to 2,000 instead of the 10,000, and then we can put our else statement right after. Let's put CheeseCoin price equals 0. And this can help save a couple of lines of code, and it can also help make your code a little bit more readable if some of these statements are simple. And let's put our print statement here to print out the value of CheeseCoin. And let's run it. And we'll see 2,000. That's because CheeseCoin does exist, so we're setting CheeseCoin price to 2,000, and this part of the code is not executed. We can simplify this code even further using the ternary operator and keeping our code on one line. Scroll down a little bit, and we'll say CheeseCoin exists. For ternary operator, you use the question mark, and here you have your first statement, which you need to include in parentheses. It's asking if CheeseCoin exists, what are we going to do here? Well, let's set the CheeseCoin price to 5. And if it's not true, we have to do a colon and another statement. So we'll set CheeseCoin price to 0. So this ternary statement essentially reads, does this first part evaluate to true? So does CheeseCoin exist? Then we'll set the price here to 5. If it does not exist, then we'll set the price to 0. Let's print out CheeseCoin price. Press play. 5. CheeseCoin does exist, so we're setting the price to 5. And just like the if statement, we can also use more complicated expressions in the ternary operator. Bitcoin price less than 6,000 and CheeseCoin exists. If both of those are true, then we'll set CheeseCoin price equals 10. Else, we'll set CheeseCoin price equals -1. Let's print out our CheeseCoin price again and run this code. 10. That's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please hit the like button, subscribe, leave a comment, and remember to hit the dinner bell.